Hi, my name is Jocelyn Johnson and I'm a managing partner with WJ Business Specialist. Today we're going to be talking about pricing strategies. Picking your pricing strategy is very important and it needs to be based off of not only your target market but also the type of business that you're running. So take a look at today's tutorial. We're going to cover the three basic pricing strategies and we hope this is helpful for your business. What is in a price? At its most basic definition, price is the monetary value charged for a product or a service, or the total value the consumer gives up in order to gain the advantage of owning or using the product or service. So basically, price is the value that a customer is placing on your product or service. Your pricing strategy should be set through your customer's perception. Value is created through that perception, and a customer will pay for the perceived value in your product or service. Setting the right price is all about finding balance between one price too high, where you can't create enough demand, and one price too low, where you can't create a profit. When creating your pricing strategy, you should be aware there are several ways to price your product or service. However, in this video, we will only cover the three most common ways to price: cost plus pricing, market-based pricing, and value-based pricing. The first strategy we will cover is cost plus pricing. This is a fairly straightforward way to price your product. By determining the manufacturing price of the product, a retailer can mark up the cost to determine the sale price. For example, a widget costs $10 to manufacture. If the retailer sells it for $15, which is a 50% markup, and the operating costs are valued at $2 per sale, that means the profit margin per widget is $3. This method of pricing is my least favorite. It is really not client focused. It's based on a simple calculation and not on the value to your customer. To reach this goal, the retailer must assume the widget is worth $15 to his customer. If it isn't, he will lose money. On the other hand, it could be valued at $20, at which point the retailer would be losing $5 of profit because he wasn't aware of the demand for his widget. When using this type of pricing, you must do enough research to determine if the value your target market places on your product will exceed the combined wholesale and operating cost enough to make you a profit. The second strategy we'll look at is market-based pricing. This is also known as competitive pricing, or choosing your price based on your nearby competitors. With pricing being very close in proximity, a customer then begins to look for differentiation. The customer will have to use something besides the price as the reason behind choosing your product or service. For example, two gas stations directly across the street from each other are selling diesel for a 2-cent difference. The customer will likely go to the brand they favor because the cost doesn't matter to them in this setting. In a purely competitive market, very little marketing has to go into this. The market sets the price and there is not much any business can do to change the overall price. Instead, they can build their brand or work on selling themselves as the better competitor for some reason other than their price. This pricing structure is based on providing something different in your product or service than that of your competitors. When price isn't a factor, the question becomes, what else will set you apart? The last strategy we'll look at today is value-based pricing. This is the most client-focused pricing structure. Having a deep understanding of the value your product or service has on your customer is the determining factor here. This is where quality means the most. If a customer perceives your product or service to be top-notch, there will be a demand for it at a top-notch price, and vice versa. For example, the price of a smartphone and iPhone can far outweigh the price of an ordinary phone due to its capabilities. When the consumer sees all the functions the phone can perform, they feel the expensive price tag is worth it for the convenience of the phone's features. To get to your value-based price, you must invest in market research to best determine the demand and the value placed on your product or service. You also have to look at how you can distinguish your organization from others looking to create the same value for your customer. In this structure, both market research and differentiation are important because both speak to the perceived value. What makes your service or product different, and what value does your target market place on that product or service that you're selling? This wraps up our brief tutorial on pricing strategies. We hope that you enjoyed this and that it was helpful for your business. For more information or assistance with your business, you can visit us at wjbusinessspecialist.com.